Welcome back to Inside Politics, and thank you so much for staying with us. Now, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leaders have declared they are not eyeing state jobs and told President William Ruto to stop doling out money to public institutions for their friendship. The leaders say they have too much on their hands as they check the new administration and put to task on the promises made. Echesa, I'll begin with you. When you hear the sentiments made by the Azimio leaders led by Raila Odinga, are we seeing what kind of opposition are we yet to see in this country? Because the public rallies are not yet back. We are yet to see, despite the meetings by the parliamentary group meeting of Azimio, what kind of opposition shall we see the country being treated to? One that will check the government of President William Ruto.
First and foremost, we must all acknowledge the fact that William Ruto is an unmatched political strategist. Mm-hmm. He is a very committed leader. He has the wherewithal, he has the wit, and he will desire to see a weak opposition that will not frustrate his government in the development agenda and in the execution of his manifesto. And therefore, he may do everything possible to ensure that Azimio One Kenya coalition does not remain united. For if it remains united and forges a very strong opposition, then he may have problems, perhaps forcing through things that are contrary to the law. However, we are looking forward to a very firm and strong and committed opposition that will check and oversight Kenya Kwanza government. I say so because they said initially that Kalonzo Musyoka was wavering, but after the meeting, we've seen Kalonzo coming out strongly and even reading the statement and demonstrating that he is in the opposition to stay. And I want to trust Kalonzo because I do not imagine that Raila Odinga will be on the ballot again. And perhaps Kalonzo's time has come. He will technically be shepherding the opposition, even though Raila Odinga plays a critical role in checking government and holding the Azimio family together. So, Kalonzo and Raila will have to ensure that they maintain their numbers and guard against the purchase of their MPs. If carrots are dangled, then the Azimio One Kenya coalition MPs and senators have to resist. Because as Raila Odinga told them plainly, they will either succeed together as Azimio or they will perish collectively as Azimio. They are looking forward to forming the next government in 2027. But they are also looking forward to maintaining their position in the same election. If they do not carry out their oversight role effectively, even though they are in the opposition, then they are going to be evaluated by their constituents, by their county persons, based on their performance. So it is in the best interest of Azimio One Kenya elected leaders to work together and form a strong opposition that will give William Ruto a run of their money, that will ensure William Ruto's government complies with the constitution, complies with the law, and delivers on its promises. And Kenyans must forget about this fallacy that you must be in government for you to deliver. When CDF is allocated, all MPs are given equal CDF. When employment is being done in government, it has to comply with the law. Therefore, you can be in the opposition and serve your people effectively more than the chairperson of the ruling party. To this end, we want to ask Kenyans who elected their leaders to encourage such leaders to play their roles wherever they are. If they're in government, let them support the government agenda. If they're in the opposition, let them carry out the oversight role. In any event, when parliament is elected, it is elected to oversight the executive, the judiciary, and other arms of government collectively without bias as to which party sent you to that particular parliament. We are therefore looking forward to a very strong and firm opposition.
Yeah. This must, when you look at the conversation or the sentiments made by the president, there is no handshake. He will not entertain a handshake. He will not employ or rather hire opposition leaders into his government or include them, or appoint them rather. And when you hear such sentiments and sort of him cementing and saying the opposition has to take its rightful place, what kind of opposition then are we yet to see?
Well, again, remember during the closing remarks, Mr. Raila Odinga said that whether or not he wins, whether or not he loses, he entertains the idea of the handshake. Well, on the other hand, Dr. Ruto said that as soon as I'm sworn into office, I'll have a cup of tea with Raila Odinga so that we can define his role in the opposition. So Dr. Ruto was clear in his mind right from the one go that he has no time for handshakes. While on the other hand, Mr. Raila Odinga entertained the idea of the handshake, whether he wins, whether he loses. And technically speaking, we don't have opposition in Kenya. What we have is a minority and a majority in the National Assembly and in the Senate. And contrary to what Ken has indicated, everybody elected today, from MCA to the president, everybody is in government. So you could be in the minority, you could be in majority, but you are still in government. So we must run away from these lazy politicians who want to go and sit back, do nothing for the next 5 years, and start blaming the government, while in fact they are part and parcel of the government. Because the government has got 3 arms. And at the legislature, the National Assembly and Senate, everybody in that house is part of the government. So I've seen a number of people want to do nothing for the next 5 years, and then they'll want to blame the Ruto administration for some failures. So these are the lazy politicians that we must call out. And in my view, Raila Odinga, what he must do right now is create very good systems within ODM and Azimio, and maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, slide into retirement, because he has run 5 times, and he has lost 5 times. And during this election, he had all his ducks lined in one neat row. This was his best chance. Because you remember in the past, he has said that in fact I've won, but because I did not have the state, I was not declared the winner. This time round, he had everything. The stars were aligned in his favor, and he did not win. And that's how you see people now like Kalonzo coming in. So what Kalonzo must do is increase some energy. Because like yesterday when he read his statement, the statement came out a bit dull. It was not convincing. It's as if he may have needed an energy drink. So he must come and fill that vacuum. And also the other candidates, Urena and the other people like Professor Wajakoya, the other people, if they're really interested in offering alternative leadership, they must come out. People like Jimmy Wanjigi. But if they don't do that, to come out and check on the Dr. Ruto administration, then probability of Dr. Ruto winning in 2027 is fast approaching 100%. Because you remember, part of the reason that Dr. Ruto is president today, he started campaigning 10 years ago. So I expect that people want to run in 2027 to start campaigning today. Not doing those huge political rallies, but holding town hall meetings. Because anytime Dr. Ruto makes a pronouncement, you expect somebody like Kalonzo, you expect somebody like Raila or Martha Karua or Jimmy Wanjigi to give a statement. It may not be opposing, it could be what they call in the UK loyal opposition. Because Dr. Ruto has said that he's going to encourage ideas, that he wants people to have a lot of conversations on how to take Kenya to the next level so that nobody is left behind. But if these powerful political leaders, they decide to sit on their backs and wait for 2026, then they'll have another defeat. And then number 2, I see you're in a bit of a hurry. Number 2, Raila Odinga said that he wants to sort out IBC as well as the judiciary. I think it's time for him to place the issues he has with IBC on the table today and the issues he has with the judiciary on the table today, instead of undermining those institutions. The risk of undermining those institutions is by the time we get to 2027, people may not trust the judiciary, people may not trust IBC. So instead of making blanket statements, he must pinpoint out with surgical precision that, in my view, these are the issues that we need to sort out at IBC and at the judiciary.
Bichachi, when you look at the opposition that we are yet to see, and you look at the Azimio, which has even some leaders who shelved their either re-election or seeking political office to support Azimio, and now they have to be in the opposition. Yet the president has said he will not be appointing anyone from the opposition. Between now and 2027, what kind of opposition do you anticipate to see?
First and foremost, let me state the political reality here very clearly.
Yes.
When Dr. William Ruto won the presidency, you saw people in Azimio ran very quickly for a handshake. Okay, we saw the former governor of Makueni do so. We saw the Mbas move wholesale to Kenya Kwanza. So let's not say there are no handshakes. Let's say there is no handshake for Raila Odinga. Let's classify that. Number two, let's also understand that the political cold, the vacuum of space called opposition in this country, is what scares politicians. Let's be very clear. We have no official opposition. We have a desire in the Kenyan people that someone in their free time should take it upon themselves under no force of, they're not paid a salary, they're not given an office, they have no power at all,
because it's
but there is an expectation that there should be an opposition. My advice to Raila Odinga is similar to what a good lawyer put on Twitter the other day. Raila Odinga, people have rejected you 5 times. Okay? Please take your time, go to Zanzibar again, enjoy your life. This unfair pressure that Raila Odinga should oversight your government which you chose for free is not fair. The truth is this: the oversight of government should be done by the legislature. It is the MP you chose that is supposed, whether they're in government or out of government, it is the expectation that your MP and your senator should be the one to put checks and balances on the government of the day. The expectation of Kenyans that Raila Odinga should continue to be a guardian angel over Kenyan politics in his free time, in his retirement, I think is grossly unfair. It is not fair at all. So the truth is, let there be no handshake. I agree. Let Raila Odinga take his time and do what Kenyans did to him at the poll and told him to relax. Let him relax. This expectation by every Tom, Dick and Harry that, oh, now we need opposition, Kalonzo Musyoka should wake up every day and every statement that is said by the president he should oppose, come on. Unless you're doing it for the sole purpose of campaigning, Kenyans have spoken. The other issue that is critical to address here is that this country, where it is right now, it is a country where, if you listen to my good friend Dismas, he has joined a choir, and that choir, what it is that there can be see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So you've taken that approach as members of government, and then you want people to risk their necks and be the ones who say different. No, it's not going to be possible. It's simply not going to be possible. Let us be very clear. The role of oversight, even by the ruling that removed CDF, the role of oversight remains with the legislature. If you anointed and appointed and elected a useless MP who now does not have CDF, guess what? There'll be no oversight as it should be.
Jeffers, we did see, as Bichachi outlines, some leaders, former Meru Governor Kiritu Murungi, several governors decamping to Kenya Kwanza from Azimio and other, parties. Does that redefine the opposition that you are supposed to see? Because Azimio, as it were, would have been expected to perform the role of the opposition, despite that not being officially, recognized in the constitution. This whole, Azimio coalition, where does it head to now?
Well, first of all, the William Ruto political machinery chewed Raila Odinga and the entire Azimio fraternity into pulp and spat Raila Odinga, the entire Azimio fraternity, like a dish unfit for the gods. And that's where they've been consigned, into the cold. Second is that Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga have destroyed and killed certain political careers forever. Third is that by way of being consigned into the cold of opposition, Azimio in itself has been left gasping for air. We've seen, yes, some other leaders, as you've indicated, Kiraitu Murungi, and others, Professor Kibwana, and a whole lot, UDM leaders, going to join the side of Kenya Kwanza. The side that they were bashing, hitting, like the head of a snake during the campaigns. Now when you look at individuals such as Kalonzo Musyoka, individuals such as Charity Ngilu, and a whole host of others, it can remain and must remain, confirmed that the kind of cold that they are going to be in, say somebody like Kalonzo Musyoka, who's been in government or out of government already for so long, they have got a snowball's chance in hell to become vibrant vanguards of opposition politics in Kenya. Now, yes, we've had Raila Odinga speaking to matters institutional reforms, the judiciary, specifically the Supreme Court, and then the IBC. But the question is, for example, is the issue of the new battlefront by Raila Odinga just a question of the bad taste in the mouth that he still has after losing an election? The issue of the decision that was made by the Supreme Court, as we await the full judgment so that we can look at the ratio of that decision? Or is it a question of authentic reforms, especially for something like the judiciary? Now, today, if you were to ask any reasonable average Kenyan, they will tell you that they have got reasonable trust and confidence in the judiciary. The issue of IBC, yes, no one imagines that we can go into the next election with the same IBC. And that is why, appreciating what my relatives here have indicated, Parliament has got a critical role to engage, not just for the sake of opposition politics, for the sake of progressive reforms that we need in this country. That some of these changes, contrary to the period of Uhuru Kenyatta in the second term, where they want to use reforms for political purposes and expediency, such reforms should take place way in good time before the next election. For example, when the initial commissioners of IBC relinquished their positions, why did Uhuru Kenyatta, former president, take so long to fill those positions and just went ahead to fill them on the eve of an election year? We need, I think, to be straight with ourselves. If at all we're talking about good governance, we're talking about reforms, we're talking about authentic, purpose-driven opposition politics, and a nation that's admired not just in the region, but even continentally and even globally, let us heed, for example, what even the Kriegler report indicated, that some kind of reforms and changes must take place in good time before the next election, so that it must not be seen or deemed that some kind of measures are being taken purely for purposes of political expediency or for that election. Now, Kenya and the continent of Africa has not seen a greater politician than Raila Odinga. He is a great man. Like I've said before, he is a man whose name must be preserved in song and dance and poems. But the kind of push, for example, that even Azimio or even Raila Odinga are pushing for must be the kind of reforms that should not be seen from the lenses or the perspective of the sour grapes of election laws. Then my call would be to the National Assembly, my call would be to the Senate, that even those that are in the minority, even those that are in the opposition, must do Kenyans a great favor. Engage in politics of common sense, sobriety, and not just the kind of politics of coalition fights in all these winds of politics.
You were mentioned by Bichachi about I want to give you a right of reply before you take a break.
Well, I don't think it's that is a substantive issue to respond. However, I must state that when we are doing this analysis, if your analysis is objective and aligned to the national interest and public interest, you will never get it wrong, despite who wins the election. If you stay focused, your eyes are on a national interest and public interest, you'll always be dancing to the bank. For one reason, that every person who wins an election in Kenya is supposed to drive our national interest and our public interest. So that is the bottom line.
Indeed, and we want to take another break. When we come back, right here on Inside Politics, we check into the clamor for National Assembly majority. We did see the outcome that was happening over yesterday. You want to stay with us for this and much more coming after this short commercial break. Please stay with us.
KTN News. Get the